I'd really just like to open up and try to understand your why a little bit.
Sure.
Why are you not Lee Mashler on a beach somewhere? Why are you running a trading firm, or at least owning a trading firm?
Yeah.
What's your why for being here?
So you want the short answer
I want the long answer. This is a long form podcast.
Yeah. So the short answer is, what else would I be doing? This is what I do.
Okay.
All right. There are plenty of successful people that continue to do what they're good at long past the motivation of purely financial, right? And so you can look at whether it's athletes, musicians, artists, etc. Not trying to compare myself to anyone in that, but just to use that as an example, why do people who are wildly successful still do what they do, right? It's what I'm good at. I enjoy it. I'm passionate about it. The financial aspect of it is nice, but the intellectual pursuit is everything. The social aspect of working with and building out teams and watching people that you invest time, resources, energy towards flourish in their role and have people below them flourish in their roles is really, really rewarding. And so I would say to most people, if you find something that you're good at and you enjoy doing it, don't just stop because the balance sheet looks like something. That's I don't think the financial is the motivation to do something. And I also don't think the financial is the motivation to stop doing something, especially if you really enjoy it. And I really enjoy what I do.
Well, your role within Trillium has evolved over time. Obviously, it went from managing day to day to now sort of just an overall owner. I think you're in the firm, I think, once a week, kind of by design, and then whatever else is, as necessary. But do you find that you love it all the time, or are there times when it's like, I'd like to be on a beach somewhere?
I'm really blessed. So we have a great management team at Trillium. Do I like it all the time? I mean, it's work, right? Are there days? Of course. But, on balance, versus anything else that I could be doing with my time, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'm very blessed. So in 2000, again, this can go a lot of different directions and it's going to be a slightly longer answer. But as far as my career arc, in 2007, I took a year off. I was working for 10 years. I had started Trillium. I was, 2007, I was 32, married, 2 young kids, 2.5 and 1, or just a little bit younger than that when I took the year off. Started multiple businesses, running a family office, doing a lot of it myself, 20, 30 pounds overweight, working 15, 16-hour days, and generally speaking, making everyone unhappy, including myself. So I recognized that was long-term untenable. All right. So I took a year off from work, promoted Barry up to the CEO of Trillium, and promised myself that when I stepped back in to Trillium specifically, but most of the other work that I do, I was going to step back into the role where I can make the biggest impact and really delegate out and let go of the control of the things where it wasn't the highest and best use of my time. And that decision back then has been everything for me. So the things that I work on in Trillium, I'm in the city 1 day a week. I probably work on Trillium 2.5 days a week. Because on Mondays when I'm at the family office, which is in Princeton where I raise the kids, I'm primarily working on Trillium Matters. I'm just doing it via Zoom. And I'm able to step in and work on, again, the areas where I can leverage my time the most. And so I'm very blessed with how I can allocate my time.
So you kind of jumped into 2007. Let's take a step back. I have the benefit of knowing you many years, but a lot of people who are going to be watching this video, this might be like sort of the most face time that they get with you, like, since they've started, right? So can we talk a little bit about how Trillium got started? Take me back to the beginning. Why a trading firm? How did this happen? What was your role?
Yeah, so Trillium started in 2003. Volatility was at an all-time low. It was the other end of the dot-com bubble crashed. Absolute worst time to start a trading business. Like you just can't pick a worst decision.
Okay.
All right. But taking a step before that, so, as people may, and you'd think the viewers here know, my family's been on Wall Street. I was going to work for the family business, or I was going to go out to San Francisco.
What's in San Francisco?
What's in San Francisco in 1996 when I interned out there?
Okay.
Like that's where everyone was going to work, right?
Okay,
San Francisco or New York. If I was
okay.
going to work in New York, I was going to work on Wall Street for my family. If I wasn't going to work on Wall Street and if I wasn't going to work in New York, I was going to work in San Francisco or, Silicon Valley in 1996, 95, 96 when I was out there. It wasn't the Silicon Valley of today. You're talking about, 30 plus years ago or almost 30 years ago. But it was really an exciting place to be. And I interned out there. So as is evident, graduated, started working for the family as a trader. So I'm going to take it back a little bit before Trillium. Then was a trading manager.
This is at Heartland or
This started at Daytech.
Daytech?
Daytech Online / Securities as a trader.
Okay.
1997. 1999 or thereabouts. We split Daytech. You want this part of the story? And this will tie into the Trillium?
Absolutely.
So Daytech at the time was 5 businesses under one ownership group. All right. We had an online broker, Daytech Online, which we can talk a little bit about. We had a clearing firm called King Financial. We had a trading business called Daytech Securities. We had an ECN, Island ECN, and we had a software company called Watcher Technologies. 5 businesses all started in the basement of the house that I grew up in. All right. So I was raised on Wall Street, right? And when things started really going gangbusters, there were, and we started looking at raising private equity money, which wasn't, you got to understand, this is a long time ago. Now people talk about private equity and it's like very well understood and taught in colleges and all this. This is a generation before that. It was a little bit more novel. And when we were raising private equity money, it was clear that we needed to split these businesses up. The online broker was getting a much different valuation than the Island ECN. And the trading business was not going to go and contribute to that valuation. All right. So we split them, and that's when Heartland started. Because we were in the market with the Daytech brand, it didn't make sense to go and have Daytech Securities keep that name and change the name of the online broker. We had already spent millions of dollars a month getting that brand recognition out there. So we renamed the securities business Heartland. That's where my brother and I stayed, and all the traders stayed.
Which brother?
My oldest brother, Eric.
Okay.
Yeah. That's where we were. And fast forward, I wound up being the number 2, and that company became Trillium in 2003, about 6 years, 4 years after it became Heartland. And then the online broker, we went and sold, raised capital and ultimately sold to Ameritrade, which was merged into Schwab. The ECN, Island, was merged with Instinet, which was eventually, this portion was sold to NASDAQ. And that matching engine is the core matching engine that NASDAQ is still in the market selling. And it's one of their highest revenue, highest margin, and highest growth areas still to this day.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about how I started my, a little of the family. My career arc started as a trader, became a trading manager, and then started working nights at the software business, which I didn't mention, called Watcher Technologies. I think Watcher is the precursor to Maverick Stroke Shell.
Okay.
All right. That was the front end software that we used that drove, like the trading software that we used during the .com was called Watcher.
Got it.
All right. The same way that the trading software we used in, let's say, 2021 during COVID and meme stock frenzy was called Maverick.
Mm-hmm.
It was called, the generation ago was called Watcher. And Watcher Technologies was a separate company run by this guy, Paul Hines, ultimately owned by Daytech. And at the time, our technology was not getting the love, care, and attention it deserved. And it was a very, very big problem for the traders and management. It was a very important problem, but Paul was brought in to help fix that problem. So his first meeting between Watcher and Heartland, I heard about the meeting. I'm a trading manager. And right around that time, I was I eventually became executive vice president and number 2 at Heartland. But, we're talking a long time ago, so the timing might be off a little bit. But I found out about that meeting, and I said to my brother, you got to have me go to the meeting. I'll be able to help and Watcher prioritize what they need to do so that the traders get what they need. kind of like what Howie does combined with Andy Grabowski and, the whole labs thing, right? This is the first meeting. He said, you can come under one condition. All right?
Okay.
You can't say anything. How long do you think I lasted?
Not even the first 5 seconds.
I haven't stopped since.
Okay.
Yeah. So, begged everybody to let me work nights as a consultant between Watcher Technologies and Heartland. And so there was a spell where I was trading, managing a group, I was managing guys, and at some point I was like co-managing with John Goldstein, and then going upstairs. We were all in the same building, and at 4:30, the markets weren't really open after 4:00.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, I'm gonna go out on a limb. Again, forgive me if my years, we're going back a long time, but I think there was no after hours trading. 4:00 done.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, 4:00, you study, we still took notes. We still did a lot of debriefing, met with traders, very similar vibe, but there was no trading.
Okay.
And then I would go upstairs and start another job. And I would work there till about 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
Wow.
For about 3 years. And around that time, I was running a small automated quant fund or quant trading strategy. And around that time, I, start in 2001. So again, pre-Trillium, Trillium started in 2003. I was basically one of the first brokers, because remember, we were a broker-dealer, we were all registered, Series 7, 63, 24,
Yeah,
55.
I took those tests.
All of them, right? I was one of the first brokers to what's now called the high-frequency trading space. I started that business with 3 customers right before 9/11, after the dot-com bubble burst. And if you're interested in exploring that, we can double-click on that timing and how that started.
Well, I definitely want to ask you about 9/11 in particular, but so that business isn't a part of Trillium, like the high-frequency stuff?
No.
That's something else?
That's something else.
Okay.
But so you get the point. What I did in my 20s, I worked.
Right.
All right. And then there was an opportunity to take over Heartland and the way we had to do it without getting into that whole story. Again, we can click on it. But in June of 2003, we moved out of 50 Broad downtown, where all those businesses are, where I was on my career from 97 to 2003. We moved to 417, the lovely, amazing A+.
It's not that bad. It's just been like over a long period of time,
Yeah.
small things here.
And like anything else, like when you're there for a long time, the bloom's off the rose, and
Right.
you start to see all the cracks and
Sure.
all the different things, right? So, and especially now that we have a lease signed somewhere else, you really see it.
Okay.
Yeah. So then we started Trillium in June of 2003.
Wow.
22 something years ago.
So that makes Trillium how old? That makes okay. So Trillium
22.
is 22 years old or something like that.
Just getting started.